I just can't seem to get enough of these yield max ETFs. They're really fun to talk about, mainly because they're so controversial. There are a lot of people that think because of how massive their distributions are, that they are some of the greatest income ETFs of all time. And then there are others that think they are simple dividend traps because of how much NAV decay some of them experience. With that being said, MSTY is definitely one of the most popular yield max ETFs right now, mainly because its underlying stock, MSTR, has completely rallied over the past year. It's up about 130% with significant volatility, creating a distribution rate for MSTY of 143%. And that, of course, is just pulled from the YieldMax website. So this, in theory, means that if you were to put about $100,000 into this ETF, you'd get paid another $143,000 on top of your initial investment after 1 year. So it sounds pretty amazing on paper, right? If you have $100,000, you just put it into MSTY, and then going forward, every single month, you'll get about $12,000 paid out in dividends. And then you can either reinvest all that cash back into MSTY, or you can buy that house you've always wanted and that sports car you've always dreamt about. And I know that sounds like an exaggeration, and I'm not going to say names, but I have found some YouTubers that have actually taken out home equity lines of credit and 401k loans to put into yield max ETFs. But that's beside the point. Now, the fact is, MSTY has had a total 1-year return of over 93%, obviously completely outpacing the S&P 500 within that time frame, and most of that return is all from dividend income. So anyone who started investing into MSTY about a year ago would have nearly doubled their investment. So it's been, no doubt, a pretty powerful monthly income machine so far. But with significant returns like this, there's obviously tons of risk involved. So I wanted to talk about some of those risks before we all put our entire net worths into MSTY. So MSTR, or MicroStrategy, in fact, I think it's now just called Strategy, is the underlying stock of MSTY. Now this, of course, is a company that invests billions of dollars into Bitcoin and holds roughly $63 billion worth of Bitcoin right now. And because the price of Bitcoin has been increasing significantly for well over a decade now, MSTR has been very successful as a business in general. And it's also kind of the main reason why MSTY is able to pay such incredibly high dividends every month. Because MicroStrategy has such high volatility due to its Bitcoin holdings, the premiums on the covered calls that are being sold are extremely high. And this is exactly what MSTY is doing. It's selling covered call options on MSTR, then distributing out those premiums to its shareholders every month. It's very similar to someone like myself going onto my brokerage platform and selling covered calls on MSTR and collecting those premiums every week or every month. The big difference is that I would actually have to own hundreds of shares of MSTR stock in order for this to work, which is why so many people would rather just buy MSTY and simply wait to collect those dividends every month. Now, you do always have to remember, though, that MSTY does not actually own shares of MSTR. It simply replicates the movements of MSTR by buying and selling call and put options on MSTR stock. So there's a lot of moving parts to it. Another thing to keep in mind of with MSTY is its expense ratio is right around 1%. So even if you do have $100,000 in this ETF, you're still paying around $1,000 a year to the fund managers as a fee to own it. Now, looking at the 1-year chart for all three, MSTY, MSTR, and Bitcoin, as you can see, you are sacrificing a lot of growth for that dividend income every month by owning MSTY versus MSTR. The total 1-year return by simply owning the shares of MSTR would be around 140%. Whereas your total return by holding MSTY for the last year would have been 93.4%. So the upside potential is definitely capped because of all that NAV erosion, but you're still receiving a ton of income every month nonetheless. So by buying and holding MSTY, you're really just betting that the price of Bitcoin will continue to jump up and down, keeping that volatility extremely high for MSTR. So then the payouts for MSTY will continue to be very profitable. But like we've seen with other yield max ETFs, if you're not careful, you could get thrown into that dividend trap. For example, if you were to have bought TSLY at the beginning of this year, your total return, including those distributions, would be a negative 10%. But let me know what your thoughts are on MSTY and whether or not you think it's going to be a profitable income investment going forward, and I will see you all next time.